Hi friends, welcome to Stamping with Wow. It's Jennifer Sasaki here, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today's August 21st, 2020. If you haven't already, could you please like and subscribe my channel? I surely would appreciate it. Today's birthday card is going to be made with Whale of a Time Sweet. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let's get started. The Whale of a Time Suite can be found on page 94 of our annual catalog. You can get the whole bundle for $65.50, and what that's going to include is the polymer stamp set, the sequins, the embossing folder, the designer series paper, and some pool party sheer ribbon. The designer series paper is 6x6 paper that has 12 different designs and a total of 48 sheets, and the colors are so vibrant. You can match this with Calypso Coral, Bumblebee, Granny Apple Green, Just Jade, Pool Party, Pacific Point, and Blackberry Bliss. The polymer stamp set has all the details you'll need to add to making your card experience come out great. You can have jellyfish, sea turtles, the whale, coral, kelp, a seahorse, a school of fish, everything you can imagine to create some love sentiments to your friends. Here's an embossing folder that looks like a kelp bed to me, and then that whale punch. Well, that whale shape works in both our designer series paper and that whale stamp set. So you can't go wrong with this for sure. And there's that pretty pool party sheer ribbon. It's so sheer that it could even pass off for Coastal Cabana if you want. Up at the top of the screen is my store website and a hostess code for August 2020. If you're interested in placing an order, please use that website. And if your order might be under $150, then please use that hostess code. What that allows is us to do a collective of orders to equal enough for a workshop, which will then entitle everyone to some free product. And who doesn't love free product? I'm going to be using Just Jade 12x12 paper for my card base. You'll need 12x12 for the score lines of the Z fold card. I'm going to cut this down to 5.5 inches, which is the standard height of a card. I'm scoring it at 4 1/4 and 8.5. And then you just fold it together as in a Z fold. And you want to take a bone folder to crease those edges. Next, I'm going to be placing a tick mark at the 2 inches, and that's at the front of the card. And what we're going to do is we're going to be cutting on the diagonal from that 2-inch tick mark all the way up to the 8.5-inch score line. So you're going to be cutting off a tip of the top tip of your cardstock. So the front panel should go from a 2-inch to a 3.5-inch height, and then the second panel will go from a 3.5-inch height to a 5.5-inch height. So as you see here, this is like a zippered Z fold. So now we're going to add the designer series paper. I'm going to be using those sea turtles. So the first paper for the front flap, you're going to be going from a diagonal from 2 inches up to 3.5. So what we want to cut here is 1 3/4 inches, which 1 3/4 up to the 3 1/4. And what you're going to do, trying to conserve paper so we can use the residual amount for our second flap. So what you want to do is measure up 1 3/4 inches high, and then you want to measure across to 3 1/4 inches, and then you want to measure up your 3 1/4 inches so that you have an idea what you want to cut on the square. And then the best way to do this, so here you see I've taken the cutter and I went up 2 inches, but now I'm going to draw a pencil mark of my diagonal. So the 2 inches I cut is right there where I'm starting the pencil mark, and then I'm going out to the 3 1/4 inch mark. And I thought it would be easier for demonstration purposes to use a scissors so you can see what I'm trying to capture. And you can see that that gives us a nice 1/8 inch border around the face of the card. Now I'm going to use the residual turtle paper to put in the second panel. You're not going to see all of the second panel, so that little square that's missing of paper is fine. I cut it down to the 5 1/4 inches, and I trimmed it to 4 inches. And then right there I'm measuring, it's 2 inches from the top down, so that, I'm sorry, it's 1 3/4 inches from the top down. And then I'm going to be cutting that on the diagonal, so that will match the diagonal of my second panel of the card. The easiest way to do this is measure your panels and then take off 1/4 inch on all sides. Sorry, on 2 of the sides, the top and the side. Now what I want is the last page, or the back sheet of my card, I want to be embossed. So I'm just inserting that last portion of the card into the embossing folder and letting the remaining of the card hang out of the folder. I'm stamping the edge, or I'm inking the edges with Just Jade ink so that they have a little more finish and blending into the Just Jade paper cardstock that I'm using. So now we're just getting ready to adhere these papers onto our card base. So I'm using the light blue stamping seal. This is the lighter weight adhesive for cards. That's about a 1/8 inch border that surrounds the whole card base. And then I'm going to do the same for the first panel. I think the front of this card came out really nice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use some dimensionals to pop up that first page, but technically the first and second page are going to be adhered together. So I'm just using my scraps dimensionals. I had a sheet of just the frame basically because I had already used all the center dimensionals. So I'm just going to use 3 of those pieces, and I'm going to wrap it around that first page and adhere it to the second page. So now the first layer stands out, but it's not completely flat against the second layer. Now what I want to do is add a sentiment of the for the front of the card, and I end up layering Bumblebee with Whisper White for the front card sentiment. I like how these stitch die, circled stitch die layer effect looks on the front of this card. I'm going to be adding a sea turtle stamp and the sentiment, "You're kind of a big deal," to the front of the card. And after I stamp these 2 images, I think it needs just a little bit more color, and I add the School of Fish stamp sets. I'm going to be using Bumblebee ink for the sentiment. I'm going to use the Just Jade for my sea turtle, and I'm going to use Granny Apple Green for the School of Fish. And I'm just going to stamp that right over the words. it doesn't interfere with the letters, so I think it worked out okay. I'm going to place the circle, the Whisper white paper I'm placing on dimensionals to get an added layer onto the front of the card. And I'll just be adding some stamping seal to the bumblebee portion, and it'll be adhered flatly to the card base. So now for the inside of the card, I used the largest stitch circle die, and again I'm going to be using the Just Jade for the sea turtle, but I'm also going to be using the Blackberry Bliss, but I'm going to stamp off the first layer so I get a fainter impression of the stamp. And I'm going to repeat that one more time at the bottom with the Blackberry Bliss as he's swam off the circle, and then I'm going to do that again with the Just Jade stamped off as well. These are my School of Fish. This time around I'm using the Bumblebee ink for the School of Fish just to add some more color. And there's that Just Jade second impression of the sea turtle. And now I'm going to do my sentiment in the Blackberry Bliss. I will not be stamping it off because you want your sentiment to be as crisp as possible for color. And I'll just be adhering that also with the stamping seal to keep it flat. I like the inside of the card to be a flat, no dimension in it, so the card lies flat. And that's the card. We're going to add some of that sheer pool party ribbon. I'm wrapping it around twice. This is a bow maker I found on Amazon a while back. I'm horrible at making my own bows. So I wrap the ribbon around twice, and I cross the tails before I put one of the tails under the loops I've created, and then I just tie a single knot, and the bow stays together really nicely, and it's very tight. And then I just trim the ends at a slant, and I'll adhere this with a glue dot. So I just love this little bow maker. It makes my life so simple. I'll try to find the description for it from Amazon and attach the link in the description below. So what I wanted was the bow to be seen from the front of the card but adhered to the back of the card. So I'm just going to add a glue dot to this. So I wanted some of the bow to layer above to the front of the card, but not keep it from opening. Just offer a little bit of, I guess, pull to keep it closed. I think the card came out really cute. I'm really happy with it. This bundle, the Whale of a Time Suite, could really be